Okay, integrated math students, I told you I'd get you some lessons, and here we go on some lessons. So today you are going to be on 2.8, which I'm not really sure what the number is, but we're going to put 2.8, and we're going to write the point slope form. And as indicated in the point slope form, you're going to be given a point and a slope, and it's going to ask you to graph the line. Now, sometimes it's helpful, we might be given those things and we might be asked to find the equation of a line, so I'm also going to help you to do those kinds of things. So we're going to write using slope and a point to graph. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take the point, plot a point. In this case, the point is going to be 1, 1. So we're going to need to have some kind of graph, right? And I'm just going to draw a sketch of a graph here on my paper, and you probably want to draw a sketch of a graph on your paper to help you know what you're doing. So here's my sketch of my graph with my y-axis and x-axis. Okay, so I'm going to say, okay, about here is 1, and here is 1, thereabouts. So I'm going to plot my point 1, 1. Okay, our second step is going to be use the slope to plot the next point. Use the slope to plot the next point, right? So we are given a slope of 3. Okay, and a slope of 3 will mean for us that's the same as saying 3 over 1, and we remember that this is rise, that's positive, so it's going to go up, and run, so it's going to go to the right because it's positive. So from this point, I'm going to go up 3 spaces, 1, 2, 3 spaces, and over 1 space somewhere in here. I'm going to have my second dot or a point on the line, and my third step is going to be draw a line. Okay, and that's as easy as it is to start with. You're going to be given a slope, you are going to be given a point, and you are going to be graphing that line. Not so hard, right? Okay, so what if you're given a slope and a point and they're going to ask you other things like what's the y-intercept right here, or what's the x-intercept right there? Well, I'm going to show you what you need to be doing with that, the information of a slope and a point, and how to take that information and put it into an equation so that you can answer questions like where's the intercepts and things like that. Okay, it's pretty easy. So this is going to be the slope, the point slope or slope point. We're going to say point slope because it sounds better. The point slope form. Okay, and I'm going to give it to you and then I'm going to explain it to you. So point slope is y minus y1, that's super or subscript, so it just identifies a number we're going to use, equal to m times x minus x1, again subscript, just identifying a number that we're going to be using. Okay, so you might be asking yourself, what do those points mean? I don't quite understand it. Whatever we're going to be asking, and I'm going to try and explain it to you in the best way that I can so that you will understand what we're talking about. So this y is going to leave, it's the same. It's just going to be the y that we're going to be using in our y equals mx plus b form. Eventually we're trying to get this into a slope intercept form because that's the easiest way to graph. Once we get a line into slope intercept form, it makes it really easy to graph because we know the slope and the y-intercept, and we can figure that stuff out. This y1 here is going to be the y value of a point that we know. So the y value of the point that we know. So if you had written in your objective, which you should have already written, it says given a slope, a line, and a point on that line, I can find the equation of a line, which is where slope point is going to come into be helpful. So this m right here is going to be a slope we know, and y1 is going to be the x value of a point we know. And ultimately what we're trying to do is we're trying to get this into the y equals mx plus b form. So we're trying to get everything down into mx plus b form. So if they're asking you to leave it in point slope form, you're going to just plug everything in and you're going to leave it. Let me show you. So if I say, here's an example, here is slope 5/2, and on that line there's also the point -3, 0. Okay, there's a slope, there's a point. Let's find some kind of equation. Well, we're going to put that in point slope form. The directions are going to say leave it in point slope form. So we're going to say y, just the variable, minus the y we know, which is 0, which is equal to m, the slope we know, which in this case is 5/2, times x, which is just a variable, minus -3, which is x1, because that's the one we know. Okay, if it says leave it in point slope form, that's it. That's point slope form. Okay, now let's try another one. It's going to feel easy. It's going to get a little more complicated in a second. Don't worry. So we have slope is -7, and our point is 4, 2. So that's the y variable minus the y we know, which is 2, equal to the slope we know, which is 7, times x, which is just a variable, minus the x we know, which is 4. If it's asking you to leave it in point slope form, that's it. You just leave it in point slope form. Okay? In other times, it's going to ask you to write that linear equation in slope-intercept form. So I'm going to turn the page. If you need to stop and pause, that's fine. I'm going to show you how to continue this out. Okay? So, cleaning a clean piece of paper, same 2.8, right? Well, what if the directions say write in slope intercept form, which a lot of the time it's going to ask you that because, again, slope intercept form is probably the most common and easiest way we are going to find to graph a line, because it's going to give us information that's very necessary to graph that line. So let's go back to that first example where we had 5/2 for the slope and we had a point of -3, 0. Okay, we already knew with the slope point form we had y minus 0 equals 5/2 times x minus a -3. Okay, in order to find the slope-intercept form, and we can't forget, oh yes, slope-intercept is y equals mx plus b. One of the most important algebraic formulas you're going to need to memorize, y equals mx plus b. Okay, so in order to put this into slope point, from slope point into slope-intercept, put into slope, I'm just going to put SI, slope-intercept, we're going to solve for y. So let's go ahead and start breaking that down. So it's y minus 0 is nothing, so that's helpful. So then we have 5/2 times x, so that'd be 5/2 x. These become pluses, right? Because a minus is a plus, right? So then we're going to say plus 3 times and then 5/2, because we're just distributing that 5/2 to each of the different variables on the inside using the distributive property. Okay, so that's going to be y is equal to 5/2 x plus 3 times 5 is 15 over 2, and my suggestion would just be to leave that just like it is. Okay, So if we try another one, if we're going to do this now, that we know that when we graph, we're going to have a y-intercept of 15/2, or in this case 7.5 if you change it to a mixed number. And we're going to go up 5 and over 2 when we graph the next point to draw a straight line. Okay, let's try another one. I'm going to give you the slope of -4 and the point -1, comma, -2. Okay, so what I want you to do is go ahead and pause the video for a second, work this one out. Then I want you to unpause the video and see if your answer matches my answer. Okay, so go ahead and pause now. And now that you're back, we're going to go ahead and solve that one. So using our point slope form, we know we have y minus y1 is equal to m times x minus x1. Y, it stays a variable, minus y1, which we know is a -2, which is equal to our slope, which we know is -4, times x, the variable, minus x1, which goes with this one here. Okay? Then we're going to say y, these two become pluses, plus 2 equal to, we're going to distribute the -4, -4x, these become pluses, so -4 times 1 becomes a -4. Okay, this is all just solving equations, which you should already know. Now to isolate the y, we're going to subtract 2 from both sides. And we're going to get y is equal to -4x minus 6. This is going to be in slope-intercept form. Okay, the only other thing that you might come across is it's going to say, well, here's 2 points. I want you to find the equation of a line. So given 2 points, okay, this is the last example I'm going to do, and it's given 2 points. If I give you 2 points, I want you to find the equation of a line. Well, that seems a little hard, but what we're going to do is we're going to take the formulas that we already know, and we're going to put them together, and we're going to make sure that we are able to solve that. So here we go. We are given the 2 points, 4, -7, and 0, 5. Okay, those are the 2 points. So we have a few steps to follow. Our first step is going to be find slope. Okay, and we should remember that slope, which is m, is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So in this case, we're going to use these as the 1s and these as the 2 coordinates. That's going to give us 5 minus a -7 over 0 minus 4, which is going to give us 12 over -4, which then reduces to -3. Okay, whoops, how about that? It reduces to -3. Okay, our second step is point slope form. And we knew from up there a little bit that it is y minus y1 equals to m times x minus x1. So that's going to give us, we're going to go ahead and use this first point since it's number 1. Okay, it doesn't matter if we use 1 or 2 as long as we use one of our given points. We have y minus y1, which here was -7, equal to m, which we found out was -3, times x, the variable, minus x to 1, which is going to be 4. Then we're going to 3 solve for y. We put it in slope point form. Now we're going to solve for y. So this is y plus 7 is equal to -3x plus 12. Plus 12 because -3 times -4 is plus 12. Okay. Subtract 7 from both sides. Gives us y is equal to -3x plus 5. If we were asked to graph that, it would be simple because we would know that our y-intercept is here. And here we have our slope. Our slope being rise over run, so it's going to be -3 over 1. The -3 would be down, and the 1 would be 1 to the right. Okay, so that is how you are going to find the equation of a line from 2 points. and how you're going to find the equation of a line given a slope and a point. If you have any questions, you're going to need to ask me. Otherwise, hopefully you can do the homework and you can do the quiz pretty easily. If you have any questions, feel free to email me or ask me. Good luck.